Impossible. Keep her close. He'll come for her.
Hello, everybody, and welcome on into another season of Major League Baseball. This is The Bat with Derek Carty of EV Analytics. I'm Thomas Viola, and welcome on in. I know that you're all pumped. It is opening day. Derek, how have you been, my friend?
I have been great, and even better now that we have baseball. It's been a long wait. Football was really nice to us, but I'm excited to get back into MLB.
We had to spice up the intro a little bit today. Welcome on in, everybody. I see some familiar faces from the football season here. Sports Videos is back. Noah saying goated intro here. GP36, I remember you, man. He's ready for some hammers. LD Yanks is back saying, what an intro. And, oh, man, Will Brown has it on the head. Carty and the Braves, both 162-0 this year. Hopefully, hopefully we'll be going better than 162-0, but let's get a 162-day cash streak here going. How about that?
I would take that for sure. Seems unlikely, but I'd take it.
Yeah. Now, for those of you who have been here with us before, you know how the show works. We're going to get into some props. We're going to talk about some that Derek particularly likes out of what we can find off of his projections from the BATX, the Unabated prop simulator, some stuff on EV Analytics as well. And we're also going to be taking a ton of questions from you. We don't really have a time limit. We usually go for an hour, but if you guys keep throwing the questions in, Derek, I don't know what your time schedule is like after this, but we'll see. We can keep it going as long as you guys have questions. But before we get into the meat and potatoes here, let's talk a little bit specifically about opening day and this early start to the season. Derek, when it comes to your approach, are you generally more cautious, more aggressive? How do you view these opening couple weeks here as we kind of get into the season and there's a lot of uncertainty?
I tend to start out cautious, just because coming into any season, there are going to be unknowns that we can try to project, but we won't really know. Like, what is the run environment going to be like? Is the ball juiced this year? Like, we don't know any of that stuff until we have at least a few days of games. We know that early in the season, teams tend to be careful with their starting pitchers, keep them on a much shorter leash than they will, 4, 5, 6, 7 starts from now. But there's a good amount of variance around what that kind of starting number is for guys. So yeah, I'm a little cautious. If I see an edge that I like, I'm going to go for it. But I'm, maybe not hitting quite as many as I will a couple weeks from now, or at the same thresholds that I will, just based on like the margin for error, I think is a little bit bigger right now.
Yeah, you're going to have a little bit larger of a threshold for determining some of those edges. And we'll talk more about that as we get into the props here, as we start looking at some of the edges that we're seeing on screen. And, hey, what makes something that you want to hit versus something that maybe you want to pull back and wait on until later on in the season. Are there any specific prop markets that you're generally staying away from right now or generally attacking right now?
Not specifically, no. If a market has good odds, I'm willing to attack it. If it doesn't, I'm not going to force it.
But there's not generally anything where you're like, this is one that I'm really kind of just staying away from until we get a little more data.
Not really, no. The only one is the pitcher outs market. I'm not doing too much with, which we've talked about in the past. It's kind of hard to model that because of it's not like a normal. It's not like a normal distribution the way a lot of other stats are. Like, you go back to the dugout for an inning and then the manager decides if you're going to come back out. Like if you're pitching poorly in the middle of an inning, maybe you get a little extra leash than you would if it were the end of an inning. Like there's so many of that kind of thing to account for that. I know the Unabated simulator doesn't do it. EV Analytics doesn't have the projections up for it yet. I'm hoping at some point, I know they're working on it at some point in the next, month or so, but that is one market that I'm just a little bit wary of unless I really like the value.
Yeah, it's an incredibly difficult one to model out. You mentioned it. It's not one that we simulate out. And like you said, a pitcher could go 5 innings and get 15 outs, but then his line will be at 17.5 or something like that, or 14.5. There's key numbers in this market, like you would see in a football game, rather than a straight 1, 2, 3, 4 kind of thing.
Yeah, the difference between over 14.5 and over 15.5 is a big difference, especially compared to say 15.5 and 16.5. It's like massively different.
Mm-hmm. All right, a couple more questions before we get into some of the props here, and one of them is when it comes to the early season here, how much time are you really giving it before you start saying, okay, we've got a pretty good lay of the land, we've got a pretty good landscape, now is the time to start scaling up a bit?
I mean, there's not a right answer. It's a little bit of a feel thing for me. You know, you're doing this day in and day out. You kind of start to get a sense of like, you know, when things are stabilizing a little bit. I'd say 2 or 3 weeks probably. But again, it's not like a binary thing or like a real answer.
Yeah. All right. I think that we should get into it here. I know I see plenty of friendly faces in the chat. Don't forget, guys, start off. Feel free to start throwing your questions into the chat because we will be getting to as many props as we can. But we've got a couple to talk about first. And Yahtzee's pointing out, rightfully so, hopefully this year starts better than last year. And yeah, we did get off to a slow start, but you know what? We finished really strong, and we were talking about it on the podcast, which you guys can go listen to now. Pretty sure there's a link in here. But you can go and listen to that now, and we talk about the same thing, how last year was a great year, even though we had a slow start.
Yeah, I mean, MLB just has so much variance. Even using a really strong process that you are positive is going to, you know, be a winner long term. Like long term, I keep a Google sheet tracking every bet I've ever given out, and it's been wildly profitable over the last several years. But I think last year it was the end of May before I was out of the red and actually like profitable for MLB. Like 2 months. Like that is a long time. Yeah. That is a long time. But that is just the nature of baseball, that sometimes you're just going to go through really wild swings.
Indeed. All right. I say that we get into some props here and get this season started. And first things first, I believe we are going to Alan Rodon here.
Yes. So we are looking at our dude here, Alan Rodon, under hitter strikeouts. Now this is a market, only a couple of books have it. Last year, we were crushing these. Anyone who used the BATX and was able to bet on DraftKings, MGM, 365, just destroyed this market to the point where in the middle of the season, DraftKings and MGM just stopped offering it. I think because BATX users were just killing them on it. Today, DK and MGM do not have odds up, unfortunately. DK did come back at the end of last year. But right now, as far as I know, Hard Rock, Bet365, and I think Fliff, if you have that, are the only ones that have this market. Best line right now is over at 365. There's a 155 over here. But the 145, the 135, they're good too. If you can bet this market, this is kind of one of the things that that the bat is really good at, is just like finding guys, like just finding guys that are, how do I say it? So like when you think about, okay, like hitter quality, like Alan Rodon is not like he's probably not like a very good hitter. But I think the batter strikeout market is set too much based on that, as opposed to his specific skill set, which is, this guy really doesn't strike out that much. And so really that's kind of what it comes down to. This looks like some pretty solid value. We have a little rusty, haven't used months. We can find the projected win rate on this, probably, right? How do I do that again?
Yeah, you just have to scroll around to the scroll around to find a book and then hit the plus sign. Find a book that's got the odds up. That's the only reason it's tripping you up, because there aren't that many books with markets out. Because as Milo says, how do I have more books this year and fewer markets?
That's true. Okay, so 42. Is that the projection or is that the implied based on?
Yeah, click the plus sign, and now it's telling you this. That's what we believe the price should be.
Okay, so he should be a pretty solid favorite for this, is what it's saying, and the line is saying he's Oh wait, no, that's the edge. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I see what's going on. Got you.
Yeah.
All right. But yeah, I mean, so we're saying he should be a favorite and we're getting plus 145. Like that is a big discrepancy there. What's that, like 40, 50 points of value?
Yeah. That's absolutely absurd there. And oh man, Risque Barber saying I have an Allen Roden jersey. That is a wild pull here.
Put it on for luck today. There we go.
Yeah. Tyler Jackson saying the same thing as finding people without pictures. Yahtzee said the same exact thing here.
Yeah.
By the way, guys, the ones throwing the questions in the chat, absolutely going to get to you guys. We got a couple more props to get through, but don't worry. I see all of those questions and I'm not ignoring people as I go through the chat here. All right. Let's get on to our next one. And you're completely right. It's good at finding some of those players that the market's not pricing right, because maybe the market is books are just saying, okay, here are the basic stats. The bat is letting you go a little bit deeper and a little bit more sophisticated than what the pricing is getting you here. And that's how we find edges.
Yeah.
So next up, Derek, where are we headed? Are we headed to the pitcher outs market here?
We are looking at pitcher outs, which again, I don't have projections listed for. We don't have a model that we're like super confident in yet. But when I see ones that look like really, really good, I will look at them. So, it looks like lines have been moving.
Yeah, just a bit.
Yeah, we'll still take this though. Okay, so it looks like our best line is going to be over 15.5 plus 120 at Pinnacle. Yes,
I know
that'll be our best line.
Yeah.
The
I
bat
know
is
when we were talking about this earlier. It was at 16.5 plus 140.
right. So basically that means he has to pitch into the 6th inning, which on opening day is certainly no guarantee. Like guys are kept on shorter leashes. Sandy is coming back from an injury. I do think this one is mispriced a little bit. If you look at his spring training pitch logs, I think, what's the number? He maxed out at like, what's the number here? I think 57 pitches in an official spring training start. So it doesn't seem like he'll go that deep, but he threw, if you kind of dig in and find like beat writer reports and stuff, he threw like a simulated backfield game of 90 pitches like about a week ago. So theoretically, he should be fully stretched out. That doesn't mean they'll let him pitch into the 6th, but it is a good matchup. He's at home facing the Pirates. He's looked good this spring. And so yeah, I think at the number we're getting this, I'll take it. The bat is projecting 91 pitches and about 18 outs on average. And so if we're getting over 15.5 on that, model or no model, I'm willing to take this bet.
And that's one of the great points about baseball. And again, we talk about it in the podcast, but this is a grind. It's not a day-to-day sport. And if you just look at the end of the day and are like, oh, I didn't win today, you're going to have a lot of those days over the course of this season. It's a very high variance sport. But the logic is, if you keep taking these numbers, if you keep taking these prices over the course of a season, it's going to smooth out over time. And that's why you've got to use the 162 games to your advantage, because every player, it's very high variance in the micro of one game. You need to extrapolate that. You need to be able to pull that sample size and smooth out that volatility by taking all of the games and betting every single day so that you smooth out that curve there.
Yeah, exactly. That's the huge part of baseball, is just building up volume, building up a sample size.
Hoffman saying the Pinnacle number on Alcantara is now minus 142.
Wow.
Oh,
okay.
Lord.
That moved quick.
Yeah, that moved very quick. Oh, yep. But welcome to the season, guys. This is the tough stuff we're getting. I think that Hard Rock number is a plus 120.
That looks like a minus 120.
Oh, that sucks.
I mean, which is still fine. I am a little concerned that some books are just like taking him off the board, or like these were gone before we even got here. UK and the ESPN one. Like, I'm hoping there wasn't a report that came out like 10 minutes ago that said he's going to be limited to 70 pitches or something like that. That would be bad.
Mm-hmm. But I feel like the number wouldn't be moving in that direction. It has been moving down from the actual number has been moving down. The price has been moving up.
Yeah, well, I'm looking on Twitter. I don't think I see anything. If you guys see any news about Sandy that just came out, let me know.
Uh,
But otherwise, I like
Blue, Blue, Tyler, and Milo are all saying it's just off the board at places. So it looks like there might be something in there. I'm sure Chad will have something for us in a few minutes here. Sports video saying no news just yet.
All right, interesting then.
Hey, welcome to the first day of the season, guys. This is how it goes here. All right, let's move on and talk about your third prop here. Where this is a good one. I might be able to grind out some extra clock at these limits. The struggles of betting in the modern age. Who do we got for our third and final player prop here? And then we'll go into the audience questions.
All right, we are looking at hitter walks, and we're looking at Bryce Terang. I think that's our best line, right? Yeah, plus 310 at DraftKings. Terang's a guy that popped up a good amount last year in this market. He's just a guy that I think is better at drawing walks than the market seems to project him as. I don't think we have an official lineup there yet, but he's being projected towards the bottom. There's a chance he ends up near the top, which would help us. Yeah, that's really what it comes down to. Facing platoon advantage facing a lefty and Rodon who definitely can have control issues at times. So yeah, at plus 310, we're getting some pretty good value on this.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. We'll see how long it lasts now. But hey, it's a good bet if you can find it.
Yeah, it is. There have to be other books that have this.
Yeah. And the other nice thing about betting some overs is it's going to help not nuke your account right away,
That is true. That is true.
Yep. Sports video saying he is hitting ninth.
He is hitting ninth. That's not great.
According to sports videos, who admittedly is pretty reliable.
I think, let me see what he was originally projected at.
Yeah, Yahtzee's also got him batting ninth.
Yeah, so he was projected seventh. It looks like maybe the lineup just came out. We'll lose some value on it with batting ninth, but it's still going to be a plus EV bet, I think.
As you can see, it is immediately starting to fall here. I wonder what is causing that effect.
I have no idea. What could it be?
All right, ladies and gentlemen. So that's going to recap, just to recap us here, the three that we're looking at here. Alan Roden under a half hitter strikeout plus 155 at Bet365. Sandy Alcantara over 15.5 pitching outs plus 120 at Pinnacle. Big asterisk on this one at this point. Like with the lines moving and how quickly they've been. So Derek, you were saying this is still decent value at minus 120.
Yeah. As long as there's not a report that I'm missing, which I am a little bit scared about, but yeah.
I mean, maybe advise some caution, do some research on this one.
Yeah.
And then
it should be good.
Yeah. And then we've got Bryce Terang over half a walk plus 310 at DK. RIP that number that is already well gone and down to plus 270 since we have talked about it. And guys, that is going to be the theme of the show as we move along through the course of the year. Here, there's going to be a lot of these. Now we are live on X as well today. So that is also meaning that we're going to, there's more people watching, but this show is going to be live on YouTube. So make sure, especially if you're one of those people watching us on X, go over to the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, make sure you have the notifications here. All right. Should we get into some audience questions here, Derek?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's come in and first off, Milo comes up with does Caesars know today is the start of opening day. We've had some pretty slow going here from some of these books.
Yeah, some of these books really don't have a lot of props listed. I don't understand.
Yeah, they're scared. That's what it is. Jonathan Dubé. Yeah, Jonathan Dubé says in yesterday's video, check out the podcast. Available on this YouTube channel as well, or subscribe on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. In yesterday's video, you spoke about how you updated the projections in the mornings. Do you know at around what time this will be done, or will this be on a day-to-day thing?
Yeah, so I assume we're talking about the pitch counts, which every morning I'll go in. Basically the BATX has an automated system for pitch counts where it uses recent stuff and all sorts of things to project the pitcher's pitch count, how deep he's going to go into the game. The automation gets it right most of the time. But occasionally it will miss a guy. Maybe he's coming back from injury and he threw, instead of throwing a real rehab start, he threw a simulated game that's not in the automated game logs or something like that. And so you have to dig in and find the beat reports and update it based on that. So yeah, every morning I'll go in, I'll check, I'll make sure they look good. There's not an exact time. It's usually as early as I can in the morning. I'd say most days it's going to be no later than 9 a.m. Eastern time.
Yeah, it's Derek is on top of this stuff, and it's always, I'm on Pacific time, so it's always done before I end up getting there. Option Mercer saying I'm completely new to MLB betting, so looking at this like a 5-year-old. Like I said, I think the biggest piece of advice I can give you there is this is a grind of a sport. It's like I said, you can't treat it day to day. You have to look at it over a longer time horizon, and you have to be thinking about it across the whole season here, because there is so much variance, and the only way you're going to overcome that is by continuing to bet and smoothing that over as you go along.
Yeah.
Tuxedo has a very good point here. How do you know how many units to place on a bet, and how do you know what edges you like better than others? Derek, obviously I'm going to let you take most of this, but I will say when it comes to units personally, I like to just consider, when it comes to prop betting, I'm flat betting. I'm going to win 1 unit or 1 unit to win X on underdogs, because I don't feel like I'm quantifying out my edge to a degree that I want to start betting like Quarter Kelly or something like that. But Derek, I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah, there's not a right answer.
Mm-hmm.
The way I do it, especially, I told you I track everything. So for tracking purposes, I'm saying betting a unit on plus money, betting to win a unit on minus, and that's just kind of flat betting the whole thing. You can do Kelly or confidence intervals or whatever, but there's so much variance in baseball that I just like to keep it simple, especially for tracking purposes.
Yeah, it really does make tracking a whole lot easier. I'm sorry, man. I can't. Adon Elysium will remember your plight eventually. Ask, and I do remember this name. You have definitely been in the chat before. Welcome back. How do I go about calculating EV on boosted odds bets? Hard Rock offering Soto, Otani, Witt +1 hit at +240. Without the boost, it's +184. For other sports, I would say that you can just use our generic prop simulator. We don't have that for Major League Baseball, though. So honestly, this is just going to come down to some tricky math.
Yeah, I mean, you can do the math on this. It's going to be a little bit of a pain, but like you can look up. So like Otani, based on the projection,
I think
do we get a plus sign anywhere? Is it only if it shows value you get the plus sign?
Yeah.
I was going to say, if you can see the fair line, you can convert that to a probability. You do it for all 3, chain them together as long as they're independent, and then you can figure out what the line should be based on that. But maybe you don't get the probability unless it's showing positive value on its own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just some tough math there, unfortunately. Like baseball's just a tougher math sport as well. But if you're doing it for football or basketball, you can use the Unabated prop simulator itself to determine those fair values just based on the projections there. Let's see another question coming here. Here we go. GP36 has one about an actual player. Is Tim Anderson under 0.5 runs at -190 risk-free investing?
No, there is no such thing as risk-free investing in baseball, let me tell you, but we can take a look at this. So, I mean, there's a 10% edge. That's certainly not risk-free investing, though. That's usually a lower edge than I will look to bet. You're obviously laying a lot of juice if you win this, or if you lose this, you're not very happy about it. Let me see if I have a probability. So I have him projected to not score a run about 71% of the time, which is high, but that still means about 30% of the time he's going to score a run. So personally, I don't think I would bet this one.
Let's see. Another question coming up here from Derek. He says, can you show us the best home run bets today? And this is absolutely something that we should. He makes a really good point there here. He knows they're not sharp bets, but it's good to mix in some fish bets to keep accounts from getting limited. And you know what? If you're going to do those, you might as well also be getting some EV out of it. So yeah, let's take a look at home runs and see if there's anyone who pops off the board for us day one. I believe last year we went 3 for 3 on the 3 times that we had a home run call.
Yeah, yeah, we did actually. We'll take a look. This is going to sim everybody.
So it's
When
gonna
I
take a
looked,
second.
when I looked this morning though, there was like very little home run value out there.
Yeah.
So
Chaz Chisholm at 7-1.
I mean, it looked like there was a little on him. Let's
Yeah.
see.
Just let it. It's just got to finish everybody out, and then it'll go back to
Gotta
green.
finish. Okay.
Yeah. It's simulate. There you go. Now it's good.
Okay.
And then just scroll back up, and then if you just hit it, hit the best line feed. There you go. That won't. Yep.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh.
We got some value on. O'Neal Cruz.
Yeah, these actually look good. These are higher numbers than I was expecting to see.
Yeah.
O'Neal Cruz plus 750 at FanDuel looks good.
I don't hate that at all, even though he's going up against Sandy Alcantara, who we're betting the over on outs.
Yeah, well, I mean, O'Neal Cruz is a guy I know the bat likes in general. Like his StatCast metrics are just like off the chart. His power is great. So yeah, I mean, good odds on it. Kyle Isbell, Vinny P. You know, there's some value on home run bets today, I guess. Yeah.
Vinny Pasquantino, my favorite player. Only because he is also Italian. All right. So we do have a decent home run for you for today as well. Tuxedo says, should I wait a couple days to start betting MLB? I mean, you can. It is entirely up to you. I'm just taking a little bit more of the conservative approach. I'm maybe not gonna have 20 bets on my slip today, but you can totally wait a few days, even track some stuff on paper. Paper betting is always a thing. You can just be like, okay, let me see what's doing well, what's not through the early games. And yeah, it's a small sample size, so it's really not giving you a good indication overall. But if you want to do that before you jump in, there's no reason that you can't.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about this at the beginning of the show a little bit. Like there's more uncertainty earlier in the year than there is later. You know, playing it a little bit cautious to start is definitely a viable approach. It's kind of just a personal preference thing.
Yeah, for sure. O'Neal Cruz already down to 7-1 at FanDuel, but hey, I still took it. Let's see. Tuxedo asked that. Let's go further down the list here. And guys, it's just I gotta scroll through. I gotta scroll through everyone here. Here we go. Rich Norton says, using EVA projections with the unabated screen, what thresholds do you use? I've been playing edges of 10% or greater, mostly pitcher K market. Results may vary, and it's definitely player dependent.
Yeah, it's there's not a right answer here. It's a continuum. It's about personal, risk tolerance, how many bets you're placing. As a rule of thumb, I tend to look at 4 and 5 star bets at EV or over 20% on the simulator, but it's not like a black and white thing.
Yeah, it is during football season, when it came to passing yards, we were looking at edges of 40% and up to make a bet. Whereas rushing attempts, we would be at 15% is pretty fine. Ooh, yeah. Here's a good one. Mike Zinman. FanDuel's doing a shutout survivor. That's pretty sick. Are there any particular teams the bat likes not to get shut out early in the year here? That's an interesting question.
I mean, I can pull up. So teams not to get shut out is what they're looking for.
Yeah.
I can pull up the game sheet over at EV Analytics that has the projected team totals for everybody, so we can see who has, I guess, the most chance of. I mean, it's not quite the same thing. Average runs compared to, not getting shut out because of home runs and just distributions and whatnot. But so we can look at the projection here. So projection. We'll just use one book for now. That way we're not getting all these duplicates. As of right now, it looks like the Kansas City Royals are projected for the most runs today in the bat.
Boy, that's scary.
That probably, that probably has to do with the fact that I think it was them, right? Yeah, Ben Lively is the starter for them. He just got announced a couple hours ago. They scratched, and so on opening day, everyone's rolling out a really good pitcher for the most part. The Guardians are rolling out Ben Lively.
Well, hopefully the bats are pretty lively for the Royals today there. But there you go. And the nice thing is, if it is a pool kind of format, maybe a lot of people aren't picking the Royals, and you have a chance to pick up a nice little edge there on opening day. Sports videos, thoughts on Michael A. Taylor, 2+ bases at +390 on FanDuel. Bat projecting 1 base, but that number price seems crazy. High pinch hit risk, maybe.
I think we have that in the simulator, right? Total bases. Taylor.
Don't forget, you got to switch back.
Oh, I'm on the wrong screen, right? Okay, yeah. Here we go. So Michael A. Taylor, over 1.5 +390, showing 25%. Can you see it?
Oh, yeah, because he's got 2+ bases. Yeah.
Yeah, over 25% edge. That looks pretty good to me.
Yeah.
I can check the pinch hit risk. I mean, it's early in the year, so again, uncertainty sometimes with how teams are going to pinch hit certain guys, but I don't think Taylor's a guy historically that gets pinch hit a lot for. So I have him as a 15% risk, and honestly, on the White Sox, it could wind up being lower.
Yeah,
but that is incorporated into the projection already.
Yeah, and that's the great thing about it is you've got everything priced into the model, and it's not necessarily priced into the bet, which is where we have an advantage. Eric Pappas, what up, Eric? I recognize you. When BATX projections are updated, will Unabated pick up changes with a refresh? I'm 99% sure that it's automatic. You don't have to refresh. It's going to do it automatically for you. If it's not, yes, they will pick it up with a refresh. Second question, I've seen hits allowed bets on EV Analytics, but I don't see them translated to Unabated site. Most likely, yeah, if you want hits allowed, Derek, real quick, could you just tap on the markets there?
Yes, I know there are plans to get these projections in here for it. They're not there right now, but I'm told that should be happening some point soon, I think.
Yeah, really soon. Our guys in the back just got to plug in one wire to the other and make it all work. But we have a simulator market for it. So yeah, you are going to be able to do that. Right now, if you want to do it by hand, you can just take the numbers from EV Analytics and put them in here manually by clicking that pencil there. It's going to be really annoying to do, especially for every single player. But well, it only is pitchers, so that's a little bit less work, but that'll be coming real soon for you.
Yep.
Let's see here. Noah Brook asks, already kind of asked and answered, what threshold edges are you looking for, and is the threshold different by market? So yeah, we've already talked about that. Taylor Chan wants to know Berrios over 15.5 outs here. Let's talk about him.
Yeah, again, outs are a market that I am not.
I don't think we even have him on here.
Not even on there. Okay. Let me see if I can find a projection for him at least then. Yeah, outs are not a market that I'm like really diving into unless it's a case like Sandy where I really think it's a good value. The bat's projecting 15.6 outs on average, and so I wouldn't bet that. It doesn't look like you're getting any value on it.
Yeah. What about Bregman over 0.5 walks? Asks S.
Yeah, this is one I noticed right as we were coming on air. That looks interesting. I haven't decided if I want to take it yet or not. So it definitely is showing value here. The problem is Bregman for years was a high walk rate guy, and last year all of a sudden just stopped walking. His walk rate got cut in half. So the projection is kind of, the way a projection will. It's still accounting for some of the old stuff. It's kind of projecting close, more in the middle. If he's just getting older and he's not as good anymore and teams are pitching him differently, maybe he's not the walk rate guy he used to be. The bat is banking on some regression. That's why we're seeing value here. If you want to take it, go right ahead. There's certainly that would certainly meet my value threshold normally. On opening day, where I am being a little bit pickier, I haven't taken it yet myself.
Yeah, definitely something to watch out for. Like you said, you're being a little bit pickier at this time. Toy Flashback saying, geez, couldn't get Cruz in time either. Hey, man, a lot of that, again, is today, opening day. There's a whole lot more people in here. There's a whole lot more people watching, and lines are moving real quick. They are going to move quick no matter what throughout the course of the season, but it won't be as bad as it's going to be today, especially as we get further along into the season, and books will probably take a little more action before they start to move things as well. Qualunat, welcome back, my friend. Your thoughts on Gilbert's props at Bet365 under 17.5 outs plus 185 and under 0.5 walks allowed at plus 195.
Yeah, this one I actually talked about on a different show earlier today. I'm on the Gilbert one under 7. Oh, no, wait, no, hold on. Under 17.5 outs plus 185. I mean, that's an insane number. Like, Gilbert is really good and Gilbert is really efficient and the A's are really bad. But going 6 innings on opening day is never a sure thing. Most guys are sitting around 80, 85 pitches. And for plus 185, like, it's just, I am on that one. Yes, I like that one.
Tish USC asks, how do you approach the game level BATX plays? That's a good question, because we obviously at Unabated can use the BATX projections for props, but you guys also have game level stuff as well.
Yeah, we actually, I showed you before with the team total stuff with the Royals, but we have a whole game sheet at EV Analytics. We added a whole bunch of new markets this year. First 5 inning stuff, first inning stuff, all the regular game level stuff. So you can sort that. You can find value. The thing I'll say about game level stuff, the back tests that I've seen EV Analytics do on these shows the bat is profitable on them. But game level stuff is never going to be as profitable as prop betting on a per bet basis. Like, your ROI on props is going to be better than it is on game stuff. So if you're just, kind of casually betting, betting $50 a day or $100 a day or whatever, you probably don't need to worry about game stuff, because the limits that you're going to get on your props aren't really going to matter to you. If you're a bettor and you're getting limited on props a lot, you want to get more action down. That's where game lines come in, because books will let you bet a lot bigger on these. And then also, if you're kind of playing that next level mind game of like, I need to keep my account healthy, definitely mix in some game bets, maybe parlay them with props, or do other stuff where, the books aren't just seeing you as a sharp bettor who's just like hammering props and crushing. Like, you're betting other stuff too, and they'll be more likely to keep taking your action if they don't think you're super sharp.
Yeah. And then the other thing that you can do is you can use some of these game projections. Like, if there's a bet that you're particularly liking and stuff like that, you can take them over to the Unabated main game odds screen as well, where you can spot edges using the more top-down approach. Like, you combine both approaches, get more of the bottom up with the BATX, and then work that in with Unabated's top down. You can at the very least be shopping around, making sure you're getting low hold markets and good edges using the Unabated line and things like that.
Yeah.
Eric says, will this video be posted afterwards? Yes, sir. Quick refresh after we're done. This video is going to live forever on YouTube. Volbex. Well, head up, Eric. I fired away at some first 3 innings bets for some quick cash, but I chose only away teams with great aces on the mound. My reasoning is 2 chances to score in 1 inning of shutout baseball. First 3 inning bets. Maybe the new thing coming past Nerfies here.
Could be. I've never looked at first 3 inning bets before. It's very possible that there's some big edge to be found there.
Mm-hmm.
The more niche a market is, the less books are going to kind of care about pricing it. I would say in general, I like to have some kind of projection or probability in mind before I'm betting, like just trying to be like, okay, aces and this, like, you don't know, like, it's going to depend on the odds you're being offered too. And I really want to get like a number on it personally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, what up, Eric? He and I go way back. He's a good dude. Great dude. John Michelli, what's your EV percentage threshold on home runs versus strikeouts, etc.? I mean, again, it is going to be, it really does vary.
Yeah, it does. I'm generally looking, again, it varies. Generally, I'm looking for over 20%, especially on strikeouts. Home runs, we don't see those type of values a lot of times, especially depending on what kind of run environment year it is. Especially if you're going to be betting a ton of them, you want to get a big sample size for the variance to even out on home runs. You could definitely lower that down to 15% or 10% probably and be okay. But again, there's not like a right answer.
Yeah. an interesting question here from Ronnie Ron. Unabated prop sim shows a different edge percentage than the EVA page, which we focus on. With a lot of these questions, it really is dealer's choice. Like, I personally use the unabated one, but I don't think that you're going wrong either way.
Yeah, no, I mean, they both kind of approach the same question from different angles, and they use different math to get to an answer. Usually the answer is going to be pretty similar.
Yeah.
Not always. I look at both. Again, another question where there's not a right answer.
Yeah, it is very much like the thing with props is it's very difficult to exactly quantify your edge. So just because something says that it's a 15.82% edge doesn't mean that it's truly mathematically a 15.82% edge. We're not dealing with casino games or things with fixed definite odds and numbers here. So treat everything as with a little bit of a margin of error, and remember that if the numbers are a little bit off from one source to the other, it doesn't necessarily mean that one is wrong and one isn't. Eric also asked, are projections updated constantly, or is it throughout the day as news comes in? It's pretty constant, right, Derek?
Yeah, the projections run on a 5-minute loop where every 5 minutes it looks for any new information that wasn't available 5 minutes previously, and it will incorporate it into the projection. So it's constant throughout the day, updating for the latest info.
Yeah. Milo also pointing out with the Bregman, last year Bregman swung more than he had in his first 2 years and swung more outside the zone. Just a bunch of weird stuff going on there. But I believe someone else pointed out a little bit further up in the chat that his walk rate has been spiking in spring training again. So hopefully the bat is correct here. GP36 says, when will next day projections for game lines be posted? That's midnight Pacific, right?
No, actually. So there is a run of them, a very early preliminary run that happens, I think, around 6 a.m. every day. It didn't happen today just because I was getting everything up and running for opening day. I'll try to run some tomorrow projections actually after the show ends. But yeah, usually you can get a very early run the morning before, and then it'll run again the night before. And then, once 6 a.m. hits, the 5-minute loop kicks in all day.
Yeah. Just be careful betting a lot of overnight game lines. It's a quick way to get yourself limited. Tish USC says, thanks for the response. Looking forward to my first BATX season. Hey, best of luck to you, my friend. Thank you for riding along with us. And Josh O says, I don't get when he looks at pitcher outs on Unabated, he's not seeing any line or simulator. How are people getting this? There is no. So that's one of the few markets, Derek, if you want to go back real quick to the Unabated page. That's one of the few markets we don't have it as a sim. You can see, like, when you click on the whole drop down menu there, and you see how all the other ones have that little sim icon next to them, pitcher outs don't. So all it's doing here is Derek's kind of eyeballing things based off of his own intuition and math, but we don't simulate that particular market because the math is very, very hard to simulate on that. It's not the same. And right. Yeah,
which is what we talked about earlier. It's hard math to do. I know EV Analytics is hoping to have a model for it by the end of the month. I have access to a preliminary version of it, so I can see kind of, okay, this might have value. Like, it's not like I'm trusting it 100%, but if I see value that's really like screaming off the page, I'll look at it, and especially using my intuition and experience and everything, and be like, okay, yeah, this makes sense. This is one I want to bet.
Yeah, but you're not going crazy there, Josh. Don't worry. Yeah. No one else is seeing that. Sports videos, not a betting question. Who do you think is the most underrated team heading into this MLB season? I think it's got to be the Dodgers. No one's talking about
them. The actual answer is the Chicago White Sox.
I mean, it's very hard to overrate them.
It is. I mean, they were the absolute best. If you looked at the bat and used it for season win totals betting this off season, like the White Sox bet was just like, you have to bet this. Yeah. The bat's projecting like 66 wins, and the line opened at 50, and it moved up, I think, to like 54.5 by the time it closed, or almost closed now. They're terrible, but they're not that terrible. And that's kind of a common theme we see sometimes, where people tend to think the good teams are better than they are and the bad teams are worse than they are, especially when a team like the White Sox is coming off a season as bad as they had last year.
Yeah. Like people, the public betting does not want to inherently reflexively doesn't want to bet on an over win total on a team that was historical levels of ass last year.
Right.
However, the thing about being historical levels of ass, you can be general booty like that. You can absolutely be a team like that. You still have to hit some sort of bad luck and bad variance to be historically ass.
Exactly. It has to be you're bad and you had a lot of bad luck. And so if you expect that bad luck to even out this year and the White Sox are just bad, well, now they're better than everyone thinks they are, and they're better than the market thought they were.
Exactly. And that's why the answer is the Chicago White Sox here. Tish has a good question. Do you subscribe to the idea of FanDuel being sharp for pitcher strikeouts? I mean, generally speaking, FanDuel is one of the sharpest prop books.
Yeah, I know that's kind of like a general theme. You know, people seem to say, you know, FanDuel is sharper. They take more action. And you'll see FanDuel is more willing a lot of times to go out on a limb and put out a different line than the rest of the books. I don't think FanDuel is like super sharp by any means. And there will be times where we'll get into this a lot throughout the year where I'll actually prefer to place a bet at FanDuel. So like, let's say we have, pitcher's strikeout prop is set at 7.5 everywhere, 7.5 minus 170, minus 180. And the sharp side is on the under. You might see FanDuel as the only book with a 6.5 line. So like directionally, like they know it's going to go under, but their 6.5 line might be like plus 140, which winds up actually being better value than the 7.5 minus 190 or something like that. So yes and no.
It's like you have to think for that particular example, you have to think about the fact that each one of those outs, each one of those numbers has a numerical value. It has a price attached to it. And it's the same thing as like buying points. It's what you are looking for there when you go from the 7.5 to the 6.5. You see a 7.5 minus 190 and a 6.5 plus 140, and you're saying, okay, that one is worth more than the price drop that we're getting. And so you're getting value on that bet. And I might have misspoken there, but I'm trusting everybody to know what I meant by that. The other thing for me, and the way that I like to describe it when it comes to FanDuel and how I treat their prop markets, I like to look at it as kind of a guidepost. Like, for example, if I'm betting NBA and I've got a player's points under that I'm looking at, and he's at 23 and FanDuel's maybe he's at 23.5 and FanDuel's got him at a juice 22.5, where it doesn't make sense for me to take the lower number, but I see, okay, FanDuel is kind of agreeing with my edge here on this under. I like that. It makes me feel better about my bet. But if I see that FanDuel's got the best price in the market and my edge is showing up at FanDuel, I'm not afraid to bet into that edge. I'm still trusting my number over what they have.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I would definitely trust the projection over FanDuel. Yeah, exactly like what you said. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Milo saying, isn't this FanDuel thing from like one kind of study 3 years ago? I wouldn't say that. Like we pay attention to this stuff, and we take a look at which prop books generally are righter than others when it comes to a lot of these lines here in Unabated. I would still generally say I hold them in some regards of sharpness here.
Certainly more than other books, but I wouldn't call them just straight up sharp. Like I don't think there's any book that is actually sharp for props.
Yeah, and that's just the way it is, because the reason props are so great to bet is because they are easier to bet. It is easier to beat the books. You have a larger edge because it's much harder to price these out. FanDuel's kind of advantage there is they take a lot of volume because they're the most popular sports book in the US, but volume doesn't necessarily mean sharpness. You're also getting a lot of public volume in there that doesn't mean anything. All right. I think that's going to do it for us as far as questions. We've hit the bottom of the list here. So speak now, forever hold your peace. We might add one or two. If someone pops in over the next couple minutes here while I'm vamping out our exit, we'll get to your question. But otherwise, thank you guys so much for being here with us for the first day of the season. Don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you're not already an Unabated YouTube subscriber here. You can turn on notifications. Make sure you get the show each and every week. We're not going to be on Thursdays every week. It's going to be very dependent on it's going to be very dependent on the schedule and the slate here, Derek, right?
Yeah, we kind of still need to figure out what our schedule is going to look like. By next week, I think we should have some more clarity on what that's going to be.
Yeah, opening day is a very special circumstance in terms of like both timing and day of the week. But we will be sure, if you follow us on Twitter, we'll be sure to announce it. We'll be announcing it several days beforehand, as well as putting up the link so you can follow and have but if you have notifications on, you're going to know when we're going live no matter what. Thank you guys so much for being here with us. We're excited for another great season. A reminder, if you want to get the BATX, all you have to do is click the link in the description of this video. If you're already an Unabated member, Derek, if you wouldn't mind switching to one of the simmable markets there, we can load in the projections real quick.
Yep. Picture K's.
And then if you'd go and click on the BATX there up at the top. So for Derek, it just works because he's got them already. But if you click on that, it's going to bring up the option to say, hey, go and get your BATX subscription. It'll bring you over there. If you're not already an Unabated member, you can go to unabated.com/pricing. Also, if you go to unabated.com/demo and you want a full walkthrough of the site, you can go and you can sign up for one of those today. It's going to be me. So I hope you don't mind seeing me, because it's going to be you and me in a one-on-one session, and I'm going to be walking you through all of the tools that we have. You also get 5 days of premium for free when you do that. You still do need the BATX on top of that to make these work, but you get 5 days of premium for free when you sign up for one of those demos. Looking forward to talking with you. Don't forget to join our Discord, link in the description there as well. And here we go. We've got one last question here from Jonathan Dubé. Any bets correlation we should know about? Throw out something here of bets that are definitely correlated in these markets, Derek.
I mean, I feel like a lot of it's kind of obvious. Like,
yeah,
you know, pitcher strikeouts are going to be correlated with pitcher outs. Pitcher outs are going to be correlated with everything. It's actually kind of an interesting correlation. Like pitcher outs, the higher the pitcher outs are, it means the guy's pitching well, but also it means he's just facing more batters and everything. So like higher outs will actually correlate with like higher runs or higher hits, which you wouldn't really think like, oh, he's pitching well, it should be the opposite, but like it doesn't because of volume.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, in general, just think of it in terms of volume, and that's kind of the way it goes. Pitcher stuff is going to be more correlated than batter stuff a lot of times because, you know, the volume makes more sense for pitchers, and batters have more distinct skill sets and stuff like that. But yeah, I guess that's my answer.
All right, well, that's a great final question. That's a great final answer to get us out of here on what is a fantastic opening day. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back next week. Once again, stay tuned for that scheduling update. Make sure you're subscribed. You're not going to miss a show. And other than that, we've got a jam-packed day here in Unabated. If you're an Unabated premium member, we've got a Captain Jack live stream coming up on this channel in just a couple minutes here. We've got Set the Screen later on today. And you can check out the latest Unabated podcast with Derek Carty as our guest this week. We get more in depth on how the BATX works and how you can approach betting Major League Baseball this season. Thank you all so much. We'll see you back here for the rest of the year. You guys have been wonderful today. Looking forward to another great season. We'll see you next time, everybody.